Have you ever felt like you were fighting something you couldn't name? You feel tired, discouraged, overwhelmed, but when you try to explain it, you can't quite put your finger on why. You pray, you fast, you cry out, but nothing seems to change. And then comes the thought, God is ignoring me. My faith is not enough. Maybe I don't deserve the answer. But what if I told you that God's answer has already been released, but it is locked in an invisible war? Picture this. You are in a city under siege. You send out an urgent call for help. On the other side, reinforcements are sent. But between the clamor and the arrival of help, there is hostile territory, a road taken by enemies. A battle is underway. That's exactly what happened to Daniel. From the first day that you set your heart to understand and to humble yourself before your God, your words were heard. And because of your words I have come. Daniel 10:12 Daniel prayed, and God answered, but the answer did not come immediately. Why? But the prince of the kingdom of Persia resisted me 21 days. Daniel 10:13, this is one of the most frightening phrases in the Bible. It reveals that there is a spiritual conflict going on, and that unseen beings can influence when and how God's answers reach us. Daniel was fasting and praying, struggling in the unseen without seeing any sign in the visible. As he cried silently, a heavenly war was taking place above him. Think of a text message. You send it. The recipient responds. But your internet is fluctuating. His message has been sent, but it hasn't arrived on your device yet. The fault is not in the intention, nor in the promise. It is in the root. The same happens with the spiritual world. Between heaven and earth, there are interferences, resistances, battles. Ephesians 6:12. For our struggle is not against flesh and blood, but against the rulers, against the authorities, against the powers of this dark world, and against the spiritual forces of evil in the heavenly realms. This is not a pretty metaphor. It is a brutal reality. You are in the middle of an invisible battlefield where spiritual forces are fighting for territory and for destinies. While Daniel struggled with fasting and prayer, Israel was rebuilding itself politically. But who was moving the royal structures? Who was influencing the kings? Who was blocking decisions? They were not just soldiers, they were spiritual princes, like the one in Persia. The enemy knew, if Daniel received the vision, the people would wake up. If the answer came, history would change, and the same goes for you. What God wants to release in your life has the power to awaken others, break chains, and generate liberation. Therefore, there is resistance. If you are experiencing silence, don't conclude that God is absent. Ask yourself, is there an invisible war preventing the answer from coming? If you knew what was going on behind the veil, you would pray differently. You would fast with more faith. You would stand more steadfastly. Daniel persevered for 21 days, but maybe what you need is to hold on for just one more. Imagine an old man alone in a foreign land. He was not a king nor a warrior. He had no armies nor political authority. But he carried something more powerful than all that: intimacy with the heavens. Daniel was not influential. He was relevant. In heaven, Daniel 10:2-3. In those days I, Daniel, mourned for 3 whole weeks. I ate nothing delicate, neither meat nor wine came into my mouth, nor did I anoint myself with any oil, until 3 whole weeks were completed. Do you know what that means? While the world went about its business, while kings made plans and nations fought, Daniel interrupted his routine to look for something that no one else saw. It's as if everyone is chasing the visible: careers, money, distractions. Meanwhile, Daniel turned to the invisible. He understood that the visible world is only a reflection of something greater, the spiritual. Do you want to change your life? Your marriage? Your ministry? There is no point in changing only what is outside. You need to act where no one sees, in the invisible. Matthew 6:6. But when you pray, go into your room, close the door and pray to your Father who is unseen, and your Father who sees what is done in secret will reward you. God rewards those who fight in secret. Daniel did this, and the heavens moved. Esther fasted for 3 days before entering the presence of the king. Jesus fasted for 40 days before beginning his ministry. Do you realize? Before anything powerful happens in the visible, God waits for positioning in the invisible. Many want victory without war, an answer without a search, a miracle without renunciation. But Daniel teaches us, the invisible only moves when there is someone willing to die in secret. Hebrews 11:27. By faith, Moses left Egypt, not fearing the wrath of the king, for he endured as seeing him who is invisible. Daniel fasted because he saw what no one else saw. And the question is, what have you seen? Think of a father kneeling at dawn, praying for his son who is on drugs. No one sees him, but heaven sees him. Think of a woman who fasts for her unbelieving husband, while everyone says it is a waste of time. No one understands her, but heaven moves because of her. That was Daniel. And God calls us to be like him. The sky does not move because of mechanical prayers, but because of hearts that break, because of voices that cry out with truth, because of people who decide to fight in the invisible, even without signs in the visible. Are you willing to be like Daniel? To intercede even without an audience? To pray even without applause? To fast even without immediate results? Because whoever positions themselves in the invisible alters the visible. Daniel 10:13. But the prince of the kingdom of Persia resisted me 21 days. And behold, Michael, one of the chief princes, came to help me. Stop and think about this scene. An angel of God, a heavenly messenger, sent directly with the answer to Daniel, is imprisoned for 21 days, resisted, pushed back, blocked on the way. By whom? By a human king? No, by a spiritual prince. Who is the prince of Persia? This prince was not a man. He was a spiritual entity of high demonic rank, an evil force designed to influence an entire nation. He controlled not just soldiers, but ideas. He did not wield swords, but governed thoughts and decisions. His mission: to prevent God's will from manifesting itself in the physical world. Ephesians 2:2. According to the course of this world, according to the prince of the power of the air, the spirit that now works in the sons of disobedience. The Apostle Paul warns us that there is a prince of the air. He is not in human government. He is above the kingdoms, in the heavenly places. Just as a president has invisible advisors behind the scenes, human governments have spiritual influences behind the scenes, and not every visible government represents God's will. Many are being manipulated by demonic territorial forces. This is why the Bible shows spiritual wars happening around cities, nations, and peoples. Deuteronomy 32:8, NIV. When the Most High gave the nations their inheritance, he established the territories of the peoples according to the number of the sons of God. This verse, along with Daniel 10, gives us an alarming insight. The spiritual world is divided into regions, and there are entities that vie for dominion over these regions. Mark 5. Jesus finds a man possessed by a legion of demons, and when he goes to cast them out, they beg him, "Do not send us out of the region." Mark 5:10. Why? Because they were assigned to that territory. They had authority in that geography. Likewise, the prince of Persia was a spirit who ruled that nation spiritually, and he did not want Daniel to receive a vision of heaven that would bring deliverance to God's people. Have you ever noticed how certain places seem more resistant to the gospel? How some regions face constant cycles of violence, idolatry, corruption, sexual confusion, spiritual misery. These are not just social problems. They are spiritual territories in conflict. Many families also live under corrupt spiritual coverings. Repetitive cycles of addiction, broken marriages, mental confusion, division, misery, because there are unseen spiritual authorities operating there. How many times has your spiritual life stalled because you prayed for 10 days, but the battle required 21? How many blessings have been blocked by lack of perseverance in the unseen? Daniel didn't know what was happening, but he kept going. You don't know what heaven is doing right now either, but your cry may be fueling a heavenly war. Thessalonians 5:17. Pray without ceasing. Luke 18:1. Jesus told them a parable to show them that they should always pray and not give up. Your struggle may seem to be against people, systems, or situations, but there is a prince of Persia trying to resist your spiritual advancement. There are invisible voices trying to manipulate your mind, and there is an invisible war that can only be won with spiritual weapons. You need to wake up, because while you are distracted, the enemy occupies territories that should be yours. You are being affected by things you cannot see: your thoughts, your emotions, your choices, your delays. All of these may be being manipulated, not by people, but by unseen spiritual forces. Ephesians 6:12. For our struggle is not against flesh and blood, but against the rulers, against the authorities, against the powers of this dark world, and against the spiritual forces of evil in the heavenly realms. You read this verse, but do you live as if it were true? Because many people read it, agree, but continue to treat their problems as just emotional, financial, family, or mental. A person is on the verge of conversion. He feels the touch of God. He begins to pray. He goes to church. And then, for no reason, he begins to feel discouraged. He falls asleep during prayer. He thinks he is wasting time. He feels unexplained anger. The phone rings every time he tries to read the Bible. Fights break out of nowhere. He gives up. Do you think this is a coincidence? It is not. It's war. Luke 22:31-32. Simon, Simon, behold, Satan hath desired to have you, that he may sift you as wheat. But I have prayed for you, that your faith fail not. Jesus revealed that the devil asked to sift Peter. In other words, there was a spiritual requirement to attack him, an invisible action to tear down what God was building. And Jesus didn't say, I stopped the attack. He said, I prayed for you, that your faith would not fail. In other words, the attack would come, but prayer would sustain it. You don't need to see the enemy to be under attack. In fact, the enemy's greatest attack is when you think you're not at war. While you live a normal life, the enemy casts thoughts into your mind, raises subtle distractions, plant discouragement camouflaged as reality, distances you from God with spiritual laziness that you call tiredness. 2 Corinthians 10:4-5. The weapons of our warfare are not carnal, but mighty in God for pulling down strongholds, casting down arguments, and every high thing that exalts itself against the knowledge of God, and bringing into captivity every thought to the obedience of Christ. Your mind is a battlefield, and if you don't fight, it will be taken. An army can lose a war without firing a shot. It just needs to not know it is being invaded. This is how many Christians are. They are too busy to realize that they are losing the territory of mind, faith, and authority. Today, we see people collapsing into deep emotional crises, and everyone runs to human solutions: therapy, medicine, coaching, Reiki, self-knowledge. But what if part of this collapse is a spiritual attack in disguise? Not everything is spiritual, it's true. But much of what we ignore as natural is actually an invisible stronghold that needs to be destroyed in prayer. Before facing the cross, Jesus goes to Gethsemane. And what does he do? He prays with anguish. He bleeds in prayer. He struggles in the invisible before being crushed in the visible. Luke 22:44. And being in agony, he prayed more earnestly, and his sweat was as it were great drops of blood falling down to the ground. The greatest battle in human history began in a garden, with prayer, not with swords, not with speeches, but with spiritual agony. You are losing battles you don't even know you are fighting, because you still don't understand that the war is spiritual. Your delays, your blocks, your discouragement, your repetitive cycles may be linked to spiritual forces that only fall with prayer, fasting, and discernment. Mark 9:29. This kind cannot come out in any way except by prayer and fasting. It's time to arm yourself. It's time to wake up. It's time to realize you are under attack, and the battlefield is invisible. Daniel 10:13. But the prince of the kingdom of Persia resisted me 21 days, and behold, Michael, one of the chief princes, came to help me. This is one of the greatest revelations of spiritual warfare in the entire Bible. The angel, sent by God, was on his way with a divine message for Daniel, but he was blocked, resisted, confronted, and then Michael appears, the Archangel, the warrior of the heavens, the one who, in the scriptures, does not appear to speak, but to war. Who is Miguel? Michael is one of the few angels mentioned by name in the Bible, and whenever he appears, he is involved in direct conflicts against evil. Revelation 12:7. There was war in heaven. Michael and his angels fought against the dragon, and the dragon and his angels fought back. Jude 1:9. But Michael the archangel, when he contended with the devil and disputed about the body of Moses, did not dare to bring a railing judgment against him, but said, "The Lord rebuke you." Miguel is not a messenger, he is a fighter. While Gabriel delivers messages, Miguel breaks down resistance. Michael's presence in Daniel's story shows us something extraordinary. There are answers that only come with battle. There are promises that only manifest when heaven sends reinforcements. There are resistances so strong that they require direct celestial intervention. And all this because one man was in prayer. Do you understand the weight of this? Daniel's fast not only activated a divine response, but mobilized warrior angels. Imagine a soldier in the field, isolated, under attack. He sends a distress call. The response is sent, but the enemy intercepts the mission. So the general mobilizes a special elite troop with heavy weapons to clear the way. This is Miguel. Michael represents the moment when heaven says, "Enough is enough." He is a reminder that God does not abandon those who persevere. He may not answer in his time, but he always answers with power. Psalms 91:11-12. For he will give his angels charge over you, to guard you in all your ways. In their hands they will bear you up, so that you will not dash your foot against a stone. God sends angels in response to obedience, faithfulness, and faith. What's more, he sends spiritual reinforcement when he knows the stakes are greater than you realize. Many times you are in prayer, and the environment around you worsens. Chaos increases, emotional pressure grows, doubts intensify, and you think, "I'm praying and everything is getting worse." But the truth is different. The environment is reacting to the war that began in the invisible. The enemy senses that the answer is near. He knows that angels are on the way, and so he attacks with everything he has: confusion, fear, fatigue, distraction, accusations. But at that moment, heaven sends Michael. Maybe you are one step closer to seeing what Daniel saw. Maybe the answer has already been released. Maybe the angel is already on his way. But you are about to give up, because you don't know that Michael is fighting for you. You need to keep going. Hebrews 10:36. You have need of perseverance, so that after you have done the will of God, you may receive what was promised. You never pray alone. You never fast alone. You never face resistance alone. When you persevere, heaven takes a stand. And when the enemy tries to stop you, God sends Michael. You just have to do what Daniel did. Don't stop. Daniel 10:12. From the first day that you set your heart to understand and to humble yourself before your God, your words were heard. God's answer to Daniel did not take 21 days to be decided. It was sent on the first day. But it took 21 days to arrive. This is the revelation that needs to shake you right now. God is not indifferent. He is not late. He has already given orders to the heavens, but there is a war in the middle of the road, and it is not one with haste, anxiety, or superficiality. It is one with perseverance. Imagine a pregnant woman. She knows that. Life is already inside her. But birth takes time. And until then, there is pain, discomfort, waiting. What she carries is invisible for months, but she doesn't give up. She knows that what is inside her will be born. The same thing happens with spiritual promises. God has already planted something inside you, but between the seed and the harvest, there is resistance, there is waiting time, there are attacks. Galatians 6:9 And let us not grow weary in doing good, for in due season we will reap a harvest if we do not give up. That if is the key. The harvest is assured. If you don't give up. 2 Kings 13:18-19. The prophet Elisha asks King Jehoash to strike the ground with arrows. He strikes 3 times and stops. Elisha becomes angry and says, "You should have struck 5 or 6 times. Then you would have completely destroyed your enemies, but now you will defeat them only 3 times." What does this teach us? How you persist affects what you achieve. God was ready to give complete victory, but the king stopped too soon, just like many do today. They stop on the 10th day. They stop when the answer is just around the corner. They stop because they don't see results, but they don't understand that the war is still being won. How many promises died on the 19th day of prayer? How many miracles were coming on the 20th day? But you stopped crying out on the 18th. You say, "I can't take it anymore." But heaven is saying, "It's almost over. Hold on." James 1:12. Blessed is the man who perseveres under trial, for when he has stood the test, he will receive the crown of life that God has promised to those who love him. While Daniel waited, heaven fought, and victory only came because he didn't give up. You don't see it, but angels are on the move. You don't hear it, but heavenly commands are being released. You don't feel it, but heaven is at war on your behalf. Your responsibility: continue, persist, pray, even without answers, fast even without signs, believe even without visible guarantees. Isaiah 64:4. Since ancient times no one has heard or perceived by the ear, no eye has seen any God besides you, who acts on behalf of those who wait for him. While you wait, God works. The answer is coming. It has already been released, but hell is trying to stop it. And now, it's up to you to decide. Either you stop, or you persist until Michael wins the war, and the answer reaches your hands. Are you going to stop now, or will you do what Daniel did? It will continue, even without seeing, even without feeling, even without hearing. Because true faith is not the one that sees the miracle, but the one that holds firm until it arrives. You started this video thinking you were waiting for God, but now you know that maybe God is waiting for you. While you thought the sky was silent, the sky was in battle. While you were crying in your room, angels were fighting in the heavenly realms. While you were saying nothing is happening, the spiritual world was at war because a promise was on its way. Hebrews 11:1. Faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. You may not see it, but the spirit world never sleeps. There is interference. There is resistance. There is opposition. But there is also Miguel. There are heavenly warriors responding to your cry. There are orders being given by God himself. And Are you going to stay still? Are you going to let the war defeat you? Are you going to abandon prayer on the 19th day? Or will you get up now and pray as if you know that the unseen is about to become reality? Daniel's prayer didn't just bring an answer. It shook kingdoms. It rewrote history. It changed the course of a nation. All this on your knees. While kings with swords thought they were powerful, God used a man in fasting and prayer to overthrow powers. And you? Are you going to continue thinking that it doesn't make any difference to pray? That it's just you? That you're too small? That your battle is just emotional? No. You are part of something eternal. You are part of a war, much bigger than your pain. 2 Corinthians 4:18. We do not look at the things which are seen, but at the things which are unseen. For the things which are seen are temporal, but the things which are unseen are eternal. You are not here by chance. This video did not appear to you by chance. God is opening your eyes, because you need to wake up. Daniel's answer arrived, but only because he didn't give up. Now, the next answer is yours. Heaven has already sent orders. Heaven is already at war, but now it's up to you. Get up. Pray like someone who believes. Fast like someone who trusts. Cry out like someone who fights, and declare, even without seeing, I continue, because the spiritual world is real, and heaven is fighting for me. If this word spoke to you, share it with someone who needs to wake up. Don't hold it back. Let this truth reach those who are about to give up. Let's work together to open the eyes of a generation that lives in the physical world, but has forgotten that life is, above all, spiritual. This life is just the road. The destination is eternal.